warm welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Delighted to have you on board. So here we have a series looking at Spain. We are looking at North Spain, specifically designed around the syllabus of the WSET Level 4 Diploma. We are here looking at North Spain. North Spain is in a multi-series, so you're going to see 3 series in a second. Just look at this picture though. That is Covadonga, very important in Asturias, historically important. So I'll go through that in this section, of course. This series, series 1, that looks at the Galicia and Dio of Rias Baixas. We will go through an introduction and history in this video to Galicia. Then parts 2 through to 6 will all be about Rias Baixas. Okay, let's rock and roll talking about Galicia to begin with. So we kind of need to understand where we are looking in Spain when we talk about North Spain or Green Spain, as it's sometimes mentioned. And I'm going to get a nice pointy arrow out here, so it gives us a bit of an idea. So the red area, of course, is the whole of North Spain, sitting firmly north and to the northwest of the Cantabrian mountain range. The autonomous community of Galicia is the one that I pointed out with the arrow here, located in the northwest of Spain. Now, of course, it has a proximity alert, and that is, of course, proximity to the Atlantic, which it has a large coastline with. You'll see this here on its westerly and northern side. So many of the parts of Galicia experience cool and wet weather, and that's because of our proximity here to the Atlantic. Before we do move on, though, I just want to give you a few things that Galicia is quite famous for before we look at the history, or maybe infamous for. Let's first of all talk about the more positive sides of Galicia. You will find a city here called Santiago, and there's an absolutely splendid cathedral here at Santiago, which marks the end of the pilgrimage route, the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James. This cathedral was actually started in the 11th century, and it's magnificent to visit here. It sits really quite close to where that arrow is. Also, there is a place called Padron here, which is very close to Santiago, famous for Padron peppers, which you must consume with some fresh Albarino. Seafood here is very famous. Small shrimp called gamba or gameron. Also almejas, which are clams. Berberechos, which are cockles. And also mejillones as well, mussels, quite famous in this area. The infamous thing here is General Francisco Franco, the general and politician that dictated over Spain from the late 30s to the mid 70s. It was from here. Yeah, let's move on from that slightly dark chapter of Spain. The history here of Galicia. So first of all, you will find many archaeological sites like you'll see in this picture. We have, like I've actually, I've touched upon this in the introductory series to Spain as well, Celtic origins here, migrating to this area, the Suebi, for example, in around the 6th century BC. The native name that they gave to this area was Galiza, so G-A-L-I-Z-A, and of course that has, through time, etymology morphed into Galicia. And there you are. There's a wonderful settlement there, so you can really get a good understanding about the Celtic origins of this place. Romans, of course, started to flex their muscles and started to move their way through Hispania. They invaded and they moved northwest after defeating the local tribe here at the Duero River. They brought a lot of stabilization, they brought a lot of culture, and of course they brought a lot of viticulture and vinification. Here is some architecture and engineering that they brought to the area. This is the Pontevedra Bridge, the Roman bridge here, which is, of course, across the river. Now, the Romans came through around the 2nd century BC in this area. We've seen this picture. It's a wonderful picture. The Moors, if you have watched my introductory to Spain videos, you will understand a lot about this already. But the Moors began to invade from the south of Spain, so Andalusia, in 711. And they moved in the space of about 10 years across most of the Iberian Peninsula. They came all the way up to this northern area. They had already crossed a significant amount of mountain ranges, the Sistema Beticos, things like the Sierra de la Demanda, the Sistema Iberico, so many mountain ranges. And they get to another one here called the Cantabrian mountain range. And they cross it. They are then defeated at the Battle of Covadonga by the Christians in the north of the country. And to be honest, by this time, the Muslims, the Moors, were very, very tired. And they moved actually more towards Catalonia and into France. So they lost here. And they basically, honestly, looked at this and went, oh, well, that land up there, very thin strip of land in North Spain, you have it. We're not going to bother with it. We're going to sit behind the Cantabrian mountain range and dominate the rest of the Iberian Peninsula for many centuries. A big mistake, because of course, if you leave these little burning embers, like they did with the Christians in the north, then of course this may cause a re-emergence, and that started the Reconquista and the emergence of kingdoms like Asturias and eventually Leon and Castile, and of course the Christians reconquering the Iberian Peninsula and expelling the Moors eventually. So here is the beautiful church and monastery here at Covadonga, symbolizing really that really important time at the Battle of Covadonga, which was in the late 8th century. And of course, you have the re-emergence really here of Christianity. Now, I mentioned one of the most important architectural feats here in Santiago is the cathedral. And here you see it, a beautiful cathedral. So the Santiago de Compostela, the city in the 9th century, started to gain significance because of the way of St. James, the Camino to Santiago. And that's because of the reconquering of the lands in places like Castilla, Leon, for example. Yes, you have so many pilgrims, religious pilgrims, moving their way down the pilgrimage route to Galicia, bringing in, of course, a significant amount of diversity, language, money, wealth, trade, and of course makes Galicia fairly popular and fairly important. It also is important in terms of the movement of viticulture. Vines, which would be transported by religious sects, will actually be moved from places like Italy to France into places like Spain, and sharing knowledge, of course, along this way. And so many bodegas sprung up in the Spanish areas of Navarra, Rioja, Castilla y Leon, and Galicia, really close to the Camino de Santiago, due to the amount of wealth which was coming through this area, and still today as well. The modern template of Galicia I will actually cover in subsequent videos, and certainly the wine business section, I'll go through that as well. But that brings me to the end of this short but sweet video looking at the introduction to Galicia. In the next video, I'll go through the introduction and wine business of Rias Baixas, the important DO, which comprises most of Galician wine made. So please do join me for that video. Of course, if you have any comments, any questions about Galicia, about Padron peppers, or maybe you've been a pilgrim and you've gone to Santiago, please do let us know in the comments below this video. Otherwise, join me for the next video, part 2. And if you do find yourself in the United Kingdom, in the rolling green hills of Old Blighty, come down to the capital city of London, come and see me at one of my establishments for a class, a glass, or a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.